All right, this is a topic that's been on my mind. I wanted to share. This was a topic that drove me crazy for a long time, and because I'm a little anal retentive, OCD, that kind of thing. And so if you're not, that's fine. But if you are, then listen up. So there are essentially two types of twist drill bits. There are the ones that most of you know that look like that. They can do plastic, wood, metal, but they don't do wood really good. And they tend to tear the surface as they cut in. And that's because basically the design. I won't get into the details of the design. Then there's what's called brad point bits that are like this. And what they do is this outside cutter scores the surface before it starts hogging out the material. And so you get a very clean cut. And so this is not a fantastic illustration. It's only meant to sort of support the point, not prove it, because you could use other materials that would do it better. But basically, I used the drill press and I drilled these holes with these bits. And basically what you'll see here is this back row is with the brad points and this front row is with normal twist bits. And so you can see subjectively that I haven't done anything to these. I just drilled them and that was it. But you can see the extra burrs. And this is painted plywood, actually. I just grabbed it out of the scrap bin. So this is, it can be a lot worse in oak or something like that. And so the brad point bits do a much cleaner job. Although, of course, the twist bits do a decent job. And depending on what you're doing and depending on how in someone's face it's going to be and how clean it needs to be, twist bits may be enough. But if you're frustrated with the cleanliness of the hole from a twist bit, I would really strongly encourage you to get a set of brad points. Now, mine are getting a little bit worn. I've had these. I bought a 7-piece set, not from DeWalt, but from Fisch, a company called Fisch. I bought these in 2016. So I've had them in 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, almost 7 years. Okay, I'm about ready to replace them. Unfortunately, the price went up. I paid $20 for them. Now they're $36. But this is a really great set. It basically, has the main ones that you're going to be using all the time. I bought a second set from my dad because they're so good. Now, there are better ones than this, and there are worse ones. I would say this is like entry-level brad point. Now, you will find that DeWalt makes a brad point, but this is a different style altogether, and they kind of stole the name. This is really not for woodworking. This is more for contractor grade. And the tip is different. I owned these. You can see I purchased them. These do not cut the way these do. And upon further research, I saw someone had said that there really is two types of brad points. There's woodworking brad points and contractor grade brad points. So I wouldn't get these unless, it's enough for you. But it wasn't enough for me. Okay, so that's about brad points. The second thing I want to talk about is countersinks. So you've probably all familiar with a countersink that looks like this. Sorry, folks. So that looks like that. These work great on metal. They do work on wood, but because the angle is so obtuse, it doesn't cut really, really good. Now, there are also some like this with the drill bit impregnated inside. These cut okay, but I found some that cut amazing, and that's these. They're by a company called KEO. You can see it on the shank there. This is a really big one that I have, but the edge here is so sharp you could almost cut yourself on it. It's extremely sharp and they cut extremely clean. So I own this one. I also own a smaller one. This is the one I use all the time, and I have owned these since September 2016. You can see how many I've purchased. I purchased them for all my woodworking buddies and my dad and things like that because they're so great. And I'm going to show you how they work in just a moment. But what I would also recommend that you get with these is what they call a drill adapter. This is a collet-like end which allows you to grab a round surface. And so that allows you to basically turn a normal drill bit, or in my case, a smooth shank countersink, into something that has a hex, which allows it to go into something like this. And that's really handy. The other thing is these are relatively short and stubby. They're used for like machining. They're not really going after woodworkers and construction. And because they're kind of short and stubby, they're kind of easy to drop and lose. And without this adapter, they're sometimes really, really short. And so this little drill adapter is a really handy thing. Obviously it adds some cost, in this case 12 bucks to the whole setup, but for me it's really worth it. And so I bought a drill adapter for my metal countersink and a drill adapter for my wood countersink. And despite the cost, to me it's totally worth it. So yeah, anyway, I'll just see if I can illustrate to you the difference. I'll do it full blast this time. I'll do this one full blast. So I don't know if you can tell the difference. Hopefully you can. This is the one I'm recommending. This is the standard one that cuts metal. The one that cuts metal tends to get this chattering, not perfectly round hole. These tend to get extremely smooth and precise. Again, I'm a big fan. Otherwise, I wouldn't be making a video about it. And this big one is also really useful. I use it all the time. Let's see if I can get that on camera. So for those of you who've done countersinks before, I mean, this thing is an inch across. For those who have done countersinks before, it's just very, very, very smooth. So yeah, if you're like me and sort of the cleanliness and clean tidiness of holes that you're drilling drives you crazy, these are two tips that will really improve it. And listen, I'm not about buying new products. I'm interested in technique, not just buy a product, it'll fix your problem. But sometimes technique doesn't solve it. And keep in mind, I made these with a drill press where you have a lot of downward pressure. When you're doing this by hand and you don't have that much steady downward pressure and this thing's not clamped in a vise, holes will not turn out this clean with normal twist bits. So I used the drill press to be a little more scientific, but most guys who are using twist bits in wood aren't using a drill press, right? They're using a hand drill and they're on a job site or something like that. So yeah, this is the company KEO. They have a bunch of different diameters to choose from. You can look them up. The big one I bought was 18 bucks. Or no, the little one I bought was 18 bucks. But they have a bunch to choose from. And yeah, I hope that was helpful for someone. If it wasn't, that's okay. Give this video a thumbs down. And I would go check out a channel by the name of AVE. He also does some machining work. He's also really sarcastic, often vulgar, but if you can get through that, he's actually a really intelligent dude. I've learned a lot from him. And based on my 17 years in the automotive industry, hearing the way he talks about injection molding and machining and the way the real world runs, it seems to me that he's got a lot of experience, and I'm grateful to learn from him on YouTube. So, all right, folks, that's it for today. Thanks so much. Take care.